More details are emerging about what the now Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's life as a private citizen will look like, with E! News learning that the former royal will continue to be financially supported by Charles.
Today, we're focusing on a question that never seems to go away about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor: where his money comes from, how much he really has, and how he manages to live a lifestyle far beyond what his official income could support. Despite having no job, no public role, and no royal duties for many years, his spending habits raise eyebrows. By the end of this video, you'll get a clear idea of his official income, the funds that have never been properly explained, and the financial gaps that continue to puzzle observers. Let's start with the facts that can't be ignored. Andrew's only declared income now is his naval pension, roughly £20,000 a year, less than the average British salary, and that's all he officially lives on. Before his fall from grace, he received an annual allowance from the sovereign grant and private money from the late Queen. At one point, he got nearly £1 million a year from his mother. When she passed away and King Charles took control of the finances, that allowance ended completely. So, on paper, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor now survives on £20,000 a year. The issue is obvious. Nothing about his lifestyle reflects that. For over 2 decades, he lived in Royal Lodge, a massive mansion in Windsor Great Park with 30 rooms, huge grounds, and upkeep costs so high, most billionaires would hesitate. He made a one-time payment of about £1 million in 2003 and had to spend around £7.5 million on renovations. This money didn't come from public funds, and despite living there for decades, he paid no rent.
The Times newspaper here in the UK has published the details of Prince Andrew's leasehold agreement for Royal Lodge. The agreement, which was shared by the Crown Estate, shows that while he paid £1 million up front and spent £7.5 million on renovations, for the 22 years that he's had the lease on Royal Lodge, he's only paid what's called a peppercorn rent, which is a nominal amount, a very small amount that often isn't even demanded.
Even more concerning are the ongoing expenses. Royal Lodge is costly to maintain. Security alone has been estimated at several £million per year in the past. Even if that cost decreased in recent years, the total of staff wages, repairs, insurance, heating, gardens, and stables would be enormous. There's no realistic way a £20,000 pension could cover it. Yet he lived there comfortably for years. Recent investigations revealed something surprising. Even people inside the royal circle don't fully know how Andrew pays for his life. Reports suggest uncertainty at the top about how he covers properties, staff, renovations, and legal bills. That's remarkable for a family known for careful financial tracking. For a king who monitors household spending closely, the fact that Andrew's finances remain unclear shows even the palace can't fully track his money. The Guardian's investigation also noted transactions that simply don't add up. When you look at them all together, the situation looks even more troubling. One transaction that has always puzzled the public is the sale of Sunninghill Park, Andrew and Sarah's former marital home. In 2007, a Kazakh buyer paid about £15 million, far above the listed price. The property was never used and remained empty for years before being demolished. There's still no reasonable explanation for why someone would pay so much for an unused property. The sale gave Andrew a big financial boost, covering living costs long after his public income ended and keeping his lifestyle afloat. It also fueled speculation that during his time as a trade envoy, Andrew might have formed ties with wealthy individuals who offered financial support through channels never publicly explained. Another financial puzzle is the Swiss Chalet. In 2014, Andrew and Sarah bought an £18 million chalet, but the purchase faced delays and legal disputes over payment. The situation deepened the uncertainty around Andrew's money. The obvious question remains: how does someone with no job or business income afford an £18 million property? Even the Sunninghill sale doesn't fully answer it. The gaps in his finances remain.
Who is funding Prince Andrew and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, who despite their divorce in 1996 still live together at Royal Lodge, Windsor? How did a couple who constantly claim poverty come to afford a ski chalet in Verbier, thought to be worth £13 million? They've since sold that property.
Let's be realistic about Andrew's actual expenses. Staff for a large home could cost £200,000 a year. Maintenance and repairs easily run into six figures. Horses and stables add tens of thousands annually. Private legal bills in the last 5 years alone could reach millions. Travel, vehicles, clothing, security, and general living costs are all significant. In short, maintaining his past lifestyle likely required £20,000 to £30,000 per month. Yet he officially declares a pension of around £1,600 a month. The numbers just don't match. Those who study Andrew's finances often return to the same possible explanations: support from the late Queen's personal wealth, discreet family funds, income tied to contacts made during his trade envoy years, generous gifts or unusual transactions from wealthy foreign associates, and private investment returns not publicly disclosed. None of these are confirmed, but they are the only explanations that match the scale of spending seen in his life. Insiders say King Charles has significantly tightened these channels. This leads to a crisis the palace can't ignore. Andrew must provide documentation to justify staying at Royal Lodge, and this year he couldn't meet the requirements. This likely explains why he's being moved to a smaller property on the Sandringham estate. The new home is cheaper to maintain, easier to secure, and keeps him under closer supervision. In short, the palace is creating a controlled environment where Andrew's lifestyle can no longer exceed his actual income. It also solves another issue. Royal Lodge can't stay tied to a man whose finances are shrinking while controversies grow. Public estimates put Andrew's net worth around £3.7 million. That may sound like a lot, but compared to his past lifestyle costs, it's small. Legal fees could erase it in months, property upkeep in years. One major problem could wipe it out completely. And remember, assets can look impressive on paper, but they aren't cash. If Andrew's wealth is mostly in possessions, not liquid funds, his situation is far more fragile than it seems.
Prince Andrew agreeing to settle a sexual abuse lawsuit brought by Virginia Giuffre.
Prince Andrew is said to be planning a surprise return to public life.
The Duke of York has settled the sex assault case.
Queen Elizabeth's younger son, Prince Andrew, is settling a sexual assault lawsuit.
Then there's the settlement Andrew made with Virginia Giuffre in early 2022, which dealt a huge blow to his personal finances. The exact amount was never disclosed, but sources and media outlets estimated it at around £12 million, including damages and a payment to her charity. For a man with no job, no public income, no business career, and a reported net worth of only a few million, this raised serious financial questions. Royal correspondents confirmed that the late Queen personally helped fund the settlement, with some saying she covered most or even the entire amount up front, later recouping part through Andrew's asset sales. Buckingham Palace sources acknowledged privately that the Queen stepped in because Andrew couldn't pay it himself. This reportedly angered King Charles, who thought Andrew should face consequences without financial rescue, and it is widely seen as a reason Charles later cut Andrew's allowance and reduced remaining support after becoming king. In other words, the Virginia Giuffre settlement didn't just damage Andrew's public image, it exposed that his private finances were already stretched thin. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think there are hidden accounts? Who has been quietly supporting his lifestyle? Does the palace know more than it admits? Or has Andrew finally reached a point where the truth about his finances can no longer be hidden? Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every chapter of this ongoing story will be covered. Thank you for watching.